Welcome back to the Kyle Olson Show. Absentee ballot counting was chaos in Detroit on primary election night a couple weeks ago. The Detroit News reported recorded ballot counts in 72% of Detroit's absentee voting precincts didn't match the number of ballots cast. Joining me now to tell us what he saw, as he was an appointed challenger and was at the TCF Center where ballots were being counted from 6:50 a.m. Election Day morning until 5:10 a.m. the following morning, is Bob Cushman. So, Bob, briefly explain what your role was and why you were there.
Well, good morning, Kyle. My role was there as a legal election challenger, and my wife and I both got involved actually that day because I guess our biggest concern about the election coming up in November is election integrity. I think that's the most important thing, and it should be the most important thing to all of us. So we got trained, we got certified, and we went down and we were there a little before 7 a.m. on the primary election day.
And so both parties are allowed to appoint challengers who basically sort of monitor what's going on, and if you think that there's issues, you're able to flag that, and then the people overseeing the whole operation are able to intervene. Is that correct? So you signed an affidavit stating what you observed, and you would like people to see that, and it's basically your sworn testimony. So to the casual observer, what you put in your affidavit seems kind of horrifying. For example, you said that there was a car inside the building with Ohio plates. What was that about?
I don't know. We were told to take copious notes. I suspect that car was somebody that was delivering ballots. It just seemed a little odd. That's a car with Ohio plates was there, so I just wanted to document it. One of our primary instructions in our training was take copious notes. Mm-hmm. So I did my best in case that was a problem. Then that could be looked up and researched at a later date.
Got it. Several tables you wrote didn't have poll books. Why is that significant?
Well, as I understand it, the process for checking absentee ballots is a multifaceted thing, but probably the single most important thing, other than the checking of the signature itself, is making sure that the name is someone that's a qualified, real voter. And the poll books are names of people that are supposedly in that, they call them board, but the board is a collection of precincts, just to make sure they're real people that are voting and they only vote once.
So in your affidavit, you said workers were told at about 2 a.m. to just open the ballots and feed them through the machine without being verified. How many ballots would you estimate were counted after 2 a.m.?
This is just my estimate, but I would guess there were 10 to 20,000 ballots processed after 2 a.m. Could have been more. But the one thing I want to highlight is that my understanding of computers, whether you're taking a picture or saving a file, is that every single file, every single record has a time, date stamp. And I would think that if this became a concern, and I certainly think it should be, that they go back to all the computer records, because every ballot was scanned, and identify the number of ballots that was processed before 2 a.m. and the number of ballots that was processed after 2 a.m. And it's my opinion, based on what I saw, that none of the ballots processed after 2 a.m. should count at all.
So set the stage. You're in the room. It's 2 a.m. I'm guessing you're exhausted. Other people working there are exhausted. Polls had closed, 6 hours before that? They're still counting. Set the stage and sort of explain what happened exactly at 2 a.m.
Well, to be precise, at approximately 2 a.m. on August 5th, 2020, a soft male voice from the PA system instructed everyone to stop what they were doing, open every ballot envelope, separate the ballots, and place them in a trays to go to the tabulators. Immediately thereafter, a second, firmer, louder, different male voice over the PA system repeated the instructions. During the time of the above two announcements, a statement was made over the PA system that we could either finish in 1 hour or 2 or 3 hours later. I do not remember which of the two male announcers made this comment. So based on the instructions that were given, and my observation was they were followed, all of the checking that had been taking place prior to that, which really slowed down the process, stopped. And so I don't think that there's any validity assured or any kind of, validity is, I guess, the best word, to the ballots that were processed after 2 a.m.
So you said just a couple minutes ago that you estimate 10,000 to 20,000 ballots were processed, not verified, not checked to ensure that those were, legal ballots, that those voters were eligible to vote, all of that sort of thing. That's significant because Donald Trump won Michigan in 2016 by 10,704 votes. So this election could be swayed by people just ignoring the rules and procedures in Detroit because they just want to go home. And if the state is won narrowly and either incompetence or intent in Detroit sways the state to Joe Biden, that's not so easy to just reverse it, is it?
No, not at all. It's been my experience from everything that I've observed and what I've been told in the last month is that it's very, very hard to change, if not impossible, a result of an election after the fact because of some of Michigan's absolute crazy election laws. The one that's probably most extreme, as I understand it and have been told to by lawyers, and that is if the number of ballots that are reported don't balance with the physical number of ballots, there's an imbalance. If that happens, you can't do a recount, which is totally backwards from common sense.
So one of the Board of Canvassers said that this was a perfect storm, that there were not enough workers, that, there were more absentee ballots than they traditionally see. And in fact, 1.6 million absentee ballots were submitted for the primary, something like 3 times more than the normal. And so basically the system was not able to handle this, deluge of ballots. And even though this is the way the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, wants people voting. So you, through your affidavit and talking to me and others, you're trying to sound the alarm about what could happen in November. Do you believe the Wayne County Board of Canvassers and the Secretary of State will do what is sufficient to ensure that this won't happen again in November?
The quick answer is I don't have faith that it will. But perhaps if we raised enough, put enough light on the subject, that there could be enough heat to get it done correctly. And if there's one thing that I can state with absolute certainty from my heart, and that is the only way we're going to have any degree of integrity in the election in November is to get literally thousands of Michiganders to come out, work the polls, and work as challengers, work as inspectors. Some are paid positions, some are not. But the only way we're going to get it done is real-time intervention to keep this on track. Because we proved to ourselves that when we said, hey, wait, this isn't right, that the process stopped. And even though there were ballots that got processed before we noticed it, the process stopped until a poll book showed up.
So what can a person do if they want to help, if they want to volunteer? How do they do that?
We will be having information in the very near future about what email address and what organizations to send a person's name, phone number, and email address to in order to volunteer. I don't have that on my person right now.
Okay. But you've been doing this for many elections, haven't you?
No. This is the first time I've ever served as a challenger, so this is new territory to me.
So how would you describe what you saw there that night in Detroit?
Well, it was very disconcerting. In the first place, there were a lot of boards that were not popular with workers. We were told that about 75 workers didn't show up in the first place. I would estimate that there were somewhere in the vicinity of 600 to 700 workers working that night, but it should have been many times that number. And one of the additional things that I can note is I have a lot of good things to say about the workers. They were trying their best, but there were a lot of elderly workers. There were a lot of workers with obvious physical disabilities. And as time wore on, people started leaving. They couldn't put up with it anymore. They were getting tired. In fact, it got so egregious that somewhere in the vicinity of 6:30 or 7 p.m., that evening, they announced a $100 bonus just to stay. And then somewhere around 12:30 midnight or thereabouts, they came over the PA system, and they were very antagonistic toward the workers that were slowly leaving, walking off. And so that was a problem. And my own, if you were to ask me to guess, and this is a guess, I think the reason they gave the order to discontinue all the procedures at 2 a.m. Is probably because they had thousands and thousands of ballots left to go. They didn't have enough people, and time was running out. I mean, we were all falling asleep and nodding off because we were there. Well, by 5 a.m., we were all there. The people that left, or stayed, I should say, were there 22 hours.
And it's stressful work. I mean, a lot of people, I'm guessing, were probably sitting down, but it's stressful work because you're supposed to follow a procedure. This is very serious business. You're talking, literally, you're holding people's votes in your hands, and it's very serious. Well, I give you a lot of credit for speaking out, releasing this affidavit, making sure that the Wayne County Board of Canvassers and the Secretary of State are aware of this, and we can only hope that they will take this seriously and do something about it so election night in November doesn't end in chaos. Bob Cushman, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Kyle.
Thank you so much for joining me today. For more of my work, go to Breitbart.com or find me on Twitter, Kyle Olson 4. Use the same handle on Parler, Kyle Olson 4, KYLEOLSON 4. This is the Kyle Olson Show.